So my guest today is Madalina Petrescu. Hello, Madalina.
Hello, how are you? It's so great to be here.
Thank you. I'm doing well. And I hope I pronounce your name properly because I didn't verify it, but I just thought I should be able to pronounce.
You did, actually. It's Madalina Petrescu, so it's perfect.
Oh, it sounds very nice. So welcome, Madalina. And so Dr. Madalina's work, this is the official introduction. Dr. Madalina's work is to support people to shift out of living life from the default of the unconscious matrix, negative thoughts and patterns, limiting beliefs and stories, old wounds, and into the expanded love and intelligence of their hearts to live a life of alignment, truth, and purpose. Dr. Madalina is a leading cardiologist as well as an international best-selling author, certified facilitator in the realms of energy healing, consciousness coaching, heart-opening practices, and instinctive meditation. Together with her husband, she is a heart intelligence guide and is co-creator of HeartQ method. Her greatest mission is to inspire people to shift out of the limitations of the unconscious mind and reconnect with their hearts to experience a life of vitality, truth, and purpose. Her life transformation was ignited from her own crisis to severe pain and burnout a decade ago that brought her in alignment with her true heart path. Welcome again, Madalina. Is it okay if I call you by your first name, or do you prefer Dr. Madalina? Because becoming a doctor is such an accomplishment. Sometimes I think it's unfair not to mention, not to be reminded of that. But starting, in fact, I wanted to start with that. I wanted to ask you, are we going to have more of a, because I know your content, but I still have to ask that. Are we going to have a more of a clinical discussion or more of a spiritual discussion, considering that you are actually a medical doctor?
I mean, I would love to kind of blend it and like start spiritual, but I can weave in the medicine and the science and all that. But yeah, let's keep it conscious and spiritual and open-hearted.
So I am curious, what was, maybe it's a question of chicken and egg, but was your interest in the heart always there? Because studying to become a cardiologist, I believe you must have started from a very, well, anatomic look at this organ. Or did you study to become a cardiologist because you were interested in it from a more spiritual point of view?
Oh my goodness. Well, I had zero awareness of spirituality or consciousness. Like that did not exist in my awareness at all. You know, for me, it was just something that I felt. I felt a pull when I was young. I was attracted to healing. I was attracted to that space of making an impact, making a difference, and really wanting to create something meaningful, like a meaningful healing in people. And so medicine was the only way that I knew. My dad was a doctor, so he inspired me. And then when I went into medicine itself, from all the various subspecialties, it was cardiology that for me just felt, number one, like easy. Like I just got it. And it was just fascinating. I just loved it. I was like so passionate about it. So yeah, I mean, I went into that field, but there was nothing at that moment. I was just in the very, you know, scientist and Western kind of mentality, and nothing to do with, like, I didn't even know what consciousness meant or spirituality, none of that. That came after the crisis. That was thanks to the crisis that I had.
I'll ask you about the crisis as well, but I want to, without butchering the name of our topic, I think it's living a heart-centered life, but let me check. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remembered correctly. So living a heart-centered life. I hope you, I know that you actually invite your students to get out of their head and into their heart. But I am a very consistent dweller in my head, so I have to ask that question. I know that any discussion should start with a definition, because otherwise we might be talking about two different things. So what does it mean, a heart-centered life?
What a great question. So a heart-centered life is, so I think it's good to start with like, well, what normally happens when you don't have a heart-centered life? And I think that we all start out and as children having a heart-centered way of being. You know, we're showing up, purity, fun, freedom, excited, enthusiastic. And then at some point along the way, there's some messaging about, no, it's not okay to be authentic. You got to be how they they think you should be. So then you start suppressing that and you start going to the mind, then it's the thoughts, and then it's these patterns, these images you try to fit into, and then the pressure and the stress associated with that. And so then when you realize, oh, wow, I'm stuck in a loop, that's not getting me anywhere. I'm just hitting walls. Then the question is like, okay, now what does it mean to have a heart-centered life? And what does that mean? But for me, it's like the experience really comes down to about 3 kind of steps that you don't do like systematically, but it's more of a, number one, you slow down and you come out of the rushing and the running of the head, because the head is always trying to run forward or backward. And when you slow down and you start breathing and you're really coming into the present moment, because the heart, living a heart-centered life and being in your heart means that you're in the present moment. You're not in the future, you're not in the past. And then from that space, it's really about, I'm present, I'm here in this moment, like you and I are right here in this moment. This is where life is happening. This is where I can tune into the essence and the feeling of my heart and start to receive and to listen the intelligence that's guiding me along the way. So whereas in the mind way of living, it's about thinking, pressure, and reacting to that and running like that, from a heart-centered life, it's more about being present, feeling, receiving, and then acting from that space. So it's a little bit of a different way, and whether you do it, moment to moment, like right now, or whether it's being done in big decisions. When we're making big decisions, what are we going to do with this decision or that decision? Or it's just in the moment. It's just about being present. It's the presence that we're feeling and being guided from that space.
And the follow-up question, if you have a situation where you need to be focused and you need to use your mind a lot, can you combine the two? For example, you have to go on stage and deliver a speech, or sometimes we have to be in our brain, right?
Yeah, I love this question because I think a lot of times it's more like, okay, is it the brain or is it the heart? It becomes like one or the other. I don't see it that way. I actually feel like living a heart-centered life is unifying and harmonizing the heart and the brain. So of course, we need our brains. Our brains are so important. But here's the thing, when you're coming from the brain itself or from the mind itself without first engaging the heart, usually the brain is coming from this kind of stressful survival fear energy, and then you're stuck in that energy, and now you're having like this pressure, this thinking, and you get all serious and tight, and you're not going to have the best use of your conscious brain, of your awareness, of your ideas, of all of that. So the heart, actually, if you engage in your heart, you come into the heart, and usually the way you do that, it's so easy that you just connect with something that you love. You get into that feeling of like, what am I excited about? What am I passionate about? What am I going on stage? Okay, what I'm so excited to connect with people and to share this message that's going to impact people. So you connect to the enthusiasm, your why, your excitement. And then from that space, even science has shown that from that space, when you're connecting with your heart and you're actually generating an electromagnetic field, because in the heart space, you actually create energy, you emanate energy. And when that happens, actually, it sends messages to the brain saying, hey, it's all good, no need to fight, relax. And then the brain starts becoming coherent with the heart. So there's this coherence that starts to happen. And even the MRI studies have shown that when that happens, there's this unification of the left and the right brain. The frontal cortex becomes activated. You have more access to the smart, the intelligent brain. The amygdala, which is like the reactive one, that's like telling you all these blah, 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 that one gets deactivated. And then your body now starts to feel lighter, more relaxed, because it doesn't have to go into this survival energy. Without the heart, the default, unfortunately, if you don't engage the heart first, then what happens is, then it's like the default of survival that comes in. That's just what happens. That's just a natural way, when you just go to your mind and don't engage the heart, the mind gets its information from the unconscious matrix, which is a whole bunch of survival and fear-based things. And now you're stuck in the survival energy, and we know when that happens, the conscious brain actually shuts down, gets deactivated. The amygdala, the reactive brain, becomes activated. Your body gets tense, and now you're trying to figure things out and think, and it's not happening. So it's actually this coherence that happens, when you're in your heart. It's about engaging and creating a coherence that allows you actually to have more access to your conscious brain and your emotional intelligence.
I know that your own story, 10 years ago, you had your low moment, which led you to I guess, transition into this teaching. Could you share that, what happened, and how did you move from being a cardiologist to becoming a teacher?
It's pretty crazy. I mean, when I look back and I had this crisis, I was like so miserable and so unhappy. I was like, why is this happening to me? And now it's like the best thing that happened to me. So my story, just to kind of paint the picture, is that 10 years ago, on the outside, 10 years ago, if anybody were to look at me, they would be like, wow, she's got it all. It seemed like everything's going perfect. I mean, I'm a busy, successful cardiologist. I'm an expert and a leader in multiple leaderships in my field. I'm a part of the faculty and international speaker in the field of medicine. I have 2 beautiful girls and a loving husband. I mean, people are like, wow, you got the dream life and you're making an impact in patients. I mean, on the outside, that's what it looked like, right?
Yeah, I still relate. I relate.
Right?
I call it perfectly Instagrammable life.
Exactly. It's like if somebody like I look at my photos and I'm like, wow, that looks like so perfect, you know? But internally, my own inner experience of this was quite the opposite, although I didn't want to admit it to my tough self at that time. But what was happening inside me, I was just struggling. I was in this like survival energy. Everything was so hard. I mean, first of all, just the field of medicine and cardiology, it's like really stressful. I mean, there's like life and death emergencies, mostly a men's field, really long hours, call burden, and, you know, trying to come home and be there for the girls whenever I get a moment. I felt like I was just running in life, like on this treadmill of life, running fast, putting out fires, morning till night, you know, trying to serve the world, you know, not a moment for me. But I didn't realize at that time, because I was totally not in any consciousness, I didn't realize that I was actually operating from all these patterns that were programmed in my mind that I wasn't aware of. Workaholism, overachiever, people pleaser, perfectionist, yes sayer to the world, self-denial, you know, self-sacrifice. That to me was like the way to be. That was the image I was trying to fit myself into, because that's what I thought. And I had no idea. And so as a result of all of this pressure I was putting myself, I was just miserable. I was stressed. I was overwhelmed. I was like, you know, feel like I was always rushing. And I just thought, okay, this is normal. I guess this is what life means, because I was always doing the best. I was a perfectionist. I was doing the best with what I knew at the level of consciousness that I was at. So I was like, okay, I guess this is life. I guess I better just try to make myself, you know, maybe I'll work harder and faster and then I'll be happy. So I just kept, it was like this insanity, right? I look back and I'm like, what the heck? And the way that I was able to keep going in this insanity is that I used to run every morning. So as long as I got my run in the morning, I would make myself just do it, you know? So then if any feelings would come up or things would come up, I was like, nope, don't have time, get myself pumped up. So running was like my way.
Running away.
Yeah, exactly. Running from myself and running from my feelings, running from my truth. But I didn't know it at that time, right? So running was like my thing that I needed it. It was my addiction. And then a crisis happened. And it really started out as here I am going on my morning run. And in the middle of my run, all of a sudden I developed this pain in my back. And it was really severe. And sometimes I get pains and I just run them away. But this one was like really, really bad. So I literally had to stop in my run. And I didn't understand what was going on. So I actually ended up limping home. I thought, okay, maybe I'll just massage it away and it'll go away. Because, you know, runners, you know, their pains. But this pain did not go away. Not only did it not go away, it persisted. It actually went into like my plantar fasciitis, my hips. I couldn't sleep at night. I mean, I went from doctor to doctor. I went from expert to expert, test after test, nothing for like 1 year. I was exhausting all the options in the Western field. Like here I am, a very determined and ambitious person, you know, perfectionist, wanting to get things my way. And there was nothing. Like after 1 year, I was like, what the heck? Like nothing is working. And so all of that just left me like frustrated, upset. I couldn't have things my way. I couldn't control my outcomes. So then I was just like, I didn't understand, you know, running was my addiction. Like all addictions, it's hiding pain that I didn't want to face, that I was hiding from myself. And so now that running was gone, all of that stuff that I had been suppressing was coming out.
You were left alone with yourself.
Exactly. And I was not used to that, right? All these feelings came over me. And of course, like in medicine, you don't have time for feelings. I have to serve people, right? It's like totally opposite. So I was like, I don't have
success, you don't have space for
exactly.
feelings,
I don't have time. These negative feelings, like they're getting out in my way of productivity and efficiency, right? So like all these feelings were happening. I couldn't run them away. And now I was just like a volcano and I was not equipped how to deal with these feelings. So I literally just, broke down. And then it all evolved. This kind of pain crisis and burnout crisis evolved into some kind of a different crisis, an inner crisis, like an existential crisis. Like I just felt so unhappy, so unfulfilled, so confused. Like, why am I feeling this way? I was so disconnected. I was like on the floor and I didn't understand why. And I was just like totally lost.
Can I interrupt you for a short moment, because it's
Yes.
so bizarre. You're pretty much telling my story, except that I've never been a cardiologist. But I would like people who are in the audience, men and women, if you relate to that, if you could like leave any kind of emoji. Emoji is better than I know that it can be a hand. Just don't raise your hand, otherwise Bianca will think that you want something. Sorry, I interrupted you. Can you continue?
Yeah. And my whole family was part of this. Like my girls, I have 2 girls, like, what the heck? My husband was trying to help me. And then right there at that moment when nothing was working, I was on the floor, just like having these breakdowns. That's when it happened. When this crisis actually ended up becoming a portal or a doorway, a gateway to the journey back to myself, to truth. Kind of like a wake up, like from the slumber that I was living in, that I had created. I had created that life, but I didn't know that I was creating it from a place that was not authentic, that was not mine. So then what happened is somehow I got this book by Louise Hay and Wayne Dyer, and then it all started. And then what ended up happening is like the worst thing that I thought could happen to me became the best thing that I could happen to me, because here I was like healing other people's hearts, but I hadn't really healed mine. And the reason that I had ended up at that place, because I was so misaligned with where I was, in my life. And basically life had brought me to a stop from the running, stop from the doing, and really literally a stop for the first time in my life to start being, to start feeling, to start opening to myself, to start going inside me and saying, okay, like, who am I? What is my truth here in all of this? And all these questions about who am I really? What is the meaning of my life? What is the greater purpose? And so then I started the journey back to me, and all the energy and focus that I was giving outward and all the passion that I was giving to the world, I brought it all to me. I just brought it all to me. I started getting like hungry. The more I read, the more books I read in consciousness and spirituality, psychology, and I started going to all these events and workshops and transformation and healing and all of that. All of those things, it's like they started lighting up all these darkness inside me that I just hadn't been home. And like all these openings that started to happen, and awarenesses and feeling. And so then this is the journey back to myself. And what I had realized is that the reason that I had this crisis and this breakdown is because of this massive misalignment from my truth and from my heart. And the problem that I became aware of is that I was living life from my mind, and solely from my mind, trying to fit myself into this image of how I should be and how I need to be because of they out there think I need to be. But I wasn't aware that the mind is getting its information, its counsel is coming from the default of the unconscious, a whole bunch of learned, programmed, conditioned set of beliefs, limiting beliefs, patterns, unhealed wounds, and stories that are all happening at an unconscious level, all of them basically at the root related to some kind of an inner inner not enoughness. Like you're not enough as you are, which is why you got to do all these things so you can then be enough and be loved and be whole. And so that's what was driving me. Well, all of that is always operating at the level of the survival energy, this energy of fight and flight, stress energy. And the stress energy is what created the overwhelm, the stress, the rushing and the running. And, you know, it ends up in the pains that I was having. And that's why I was so stuck. I was in this box. I basically put myself in the box. And see, when the mind is actually doesn't want you to, how can you be more of you? The mind is like, how can you be less of you to be more of who they think you should be, so then you can succeed and be loved? So it's like an auto suppression. It suppresses the authentic self. So then it was like, okay, well, if I'm not all of that, like I started opening these awarenesses and realizations. And if I'm not all of that, then what is my authentic self? You know, like I've been all my life trained to like go against that. So then it was a process of like, and the way you feel your heart, it's nothing to do with thinking and understanding. It's more about feeling and opening and being present, making that space. And from there, learning how to, because the mind is telling you not do that, right? Because the mind needs to survive. Now with the heart, opening that, trusting again, the heart, which is really different. And when you trust in the heart, leaning in and tuning into the intelligence that we all have in our heart and letting that be the guide. And so the more I started to like surrender and let myself to do that, the more now I started to create alignment in my life. When you're coming from the truth of who you are, connecting to, I am enough as I am. There's nothing I need to do except to feel all of me. How can I feel more of me? How can I be all of me, more of me? Trusting that. And then when that happens, that's when I started creating alignment. That's when alignment, that's when I'm living on purpose. That's when I'm living on passion, enthusiasm. And there's a different energy for the heart. You know, we've all been there. We know how it feels, you know, when you're dancing, sunsets, connection, you know, the energy of the heart is like connecting. It's harmony, it's peace, it's vitality, it's aliveness. You're home. You can tell when people are in their heart because their eyes are like, you can tell like they're lit up, they're home. Whereas when somebody's in that stress mind energy, it's like they're not home, you know, they're gone, they're somewhere else. They're not in themselves. And so that's kind of what happened to me. And that's how I ended up in the space. And I realized, like, for me, with my experience, this is it. This is the deeper healing that I feel all people need, is like not out there. It's really going to the core of reconnecting back to the truth of who they are and living that life from the place of authenticity and alignment and feeling and in heart intelligence. That's why I'm so passionate about it.
I want to ask about, you know, coming back to yourself. As you were talking, I remembered, I probably misquoted, I don't even remember who said that, but something along the lines that if you get, sometimes when you get lost, you find your way back to you. But what I want to ask is, how do you find out that you're lost? Because if you are not in alignment with who you truly are, you might not know a different version. And it's all good when you have an event, or let's say you're listening to a conversation like that, that you have the moment to just be present and feel whatever you feel. But in your everyday life, sometimes that's the only version that you know, that overworked, crazy, crazy person. So how do you know when you're not in alignment? What are the symptoms, since you are a doctor by education? Tell us the symptoms.
The symptoms is really comes down to the symptoms of stress, because when you're not in your heart, when you're in alignment, you feel it, you know it, you're home, you're centered. When you are not in your heart, when you're living away, that means that what's running you is the stress energy, the survival energy, the fear energy, the trying to seek outside to fill in the inner illusion of whole, H-O-L-E, right? The illusion of not enoughness. So you're going to be having the symptoms of either, you know, physically there's tension, there's aches, there's pains, disease. I mean, survival energy creates disease. Like, this is known. So some form of a disease, some form of mind, emotions, anxiety, depression. Anxiety is really a result of like, I am so angst and from my disconnection from myself. So a lot of times severe anxiety and panic is from that space of disconnection. Depression is like, we're so far off from my own light, from my own medicine, from my own healing. I'm so far away that I am so disconnected. That's depression. A relationship that is like abusive or not for you, so really you can look at pretty much anything else. Like you look at life, you look at your experience, and anything that is coming from a place of suffering, where you're suffering, whether it's in your inner life, your anguish, your disease, relationship, there's something there that life is showing you that you're going in the wrong direction, and that what really needs to happen is to return home in yourself.
So I read that you also are the author of Heart Q Method. Can you shed a light on what is it? What is Heart Q?
Yeah. So basically, Heart Q is, well, about IQ, mental intelligence. EQ is emotional intelligence. So Heart Q is about heart intelligence. And the point of heart intelligence is that when we are connecting to the heart energy, the space of our truth, the space of our passion, the space of connectivity and feeling of that love and harmony, what happens is you create a coherence, a state of coherence. You magnify an electromagnetic field. And actually what happens when you're in your heart intelligence and you're living life from that space, it actually activates your IQ, because now it activates your frontal cortex. It deactivates the amygdala, which makes you reactive. So you're able to naturally become more emotionally intelligent. And it's pro-health, because now your well-being hormones are activated. Now you're flooded with, instead of cortisol and adrenaline, now you're flooded with the hormones of oxytocin and serotonin. So now you have well-being hormones, and your body can heal and your body feels light. So that's what Heart Q is. And basically there's kind of 4 things in relationship to Heart Q. Number 1 is the process of awareness. Like the reason I was living my life the way I was, because I had no awareness. I just had no idea. I was doing the best with what I thought, but the awareness, it started opening me up, like, oh, wow, I see now why I'm doing what I'm doing. Oh, I see where I'm coming from right now. It's that really kind of awareness, but it's loving awareness, not judgmental awareness. So the first part is the awareness of what are those thoughts? What are those patterns? What are those limiting beliefs? What are those stories that I'm creating? What are the unhealed wounds that need to be healed, right? The second part is really about expressing. So it's not enough to like get it with our minds. We need to feel it in our body. So there's a process of feeling and expression in order to really embody that, to like translate it to true transformation. And then the third part is about really deeply connecting with our heart, and kind of exiting that survival matrix of the mind and really surrendering, dropping into the vastness of the heart. And really from that space discovering, okay, who am I? And with the heart, it's a matter of experiencing, it's a matter of feeling, and it's a matter of receiving and listening and tuning in. And then now that you're receiving and tuning in, it's also a matter of heart aligned action, because it's one thing to, a lot of times we know what is the right thing to do for ourselves, but then it's like taking that action, which a lot of times, is really hard. That's why the courage is so important, I see this even in my patients, a lot of them, like, they know what they need to do, but it's not, there's like a disconnection from the action. Mm-hmm. And so you hear it now, okay, now how do we not get in our own way? Okay, now we know what we need to do. But the reason that most of us don't do that action is because the mind gets in the way, and the old habits get in the way, the patterns get in the way. And then so there's a process to these four levels of, we call them the 4 pillars of Heart Q.
Mm. Well, it seems like a topic we could dedicate the whole conversation to. But we do have a guest here, Barira. Hello.
How are you?
Hello, Barira.
And thank you for joining us. I'll pass you my virtual microphone and let you ask the question.
Thank you. So I have a question. Your story has so much, each and every single. I can so much relate with it, that yes, as Christina said, that except we are not a cardiologist, but yes, there is so much to resonate and relate. So my question is, you talked about also the competition, feeling of validation, acknowledgement. So with me, I also believe that it's not the outer acceptance, it's between me always. There's a competition with my own self continuously going on. How do you take care of that? And also, how do you practice the heart center? Because is there any percentage that it's 100% heart or 100% mind? There is no gray area. Either is it black and white. So I am getting confused with that. If I wanted to be consciously start practicing the heart center, uh, how is there a secret recipe of it? Because you have been now into this process for more than a decade now. So by sharing your secret recipe, maybe we can follow that footpath. Yeah, that is my question. Thank you.
I love it. I love it. And it's like we all are connected in a thread of humanity, because I think we all end up starting out in our heart. And then something happens where we do a trade-off. Something happens where we kind of go out of our heart, go to the mind to be safe. And then you spend the whole rest of your life coming back. Okay, what does it mean to come back? But as children, we all know how to do that. We don't have to think about it, right? So, it's really simple. And the thing is, with the heart, the mind is always trying to make it complex, because that's the mind. The mind wants to do that, right? But with the heart, it's really simple. And so there's I would just say two basic things that I do, okay? Number one is I am very intentional to every single day start off my day with in the space of my heart. And it's not like I'm going to do A and B and C because these are the things. It's more like, okay, there are some things that help me to feel myself and to be with myself. So it's creating that space that's, to me, non-negotiable. Like literally, it comes before my kids, before my husband, before my work, before anything. It's a space that I call it the sacred space. So every morning, it's a process of me being with me. Meditation, dancing, nature, it's basically just you being and feeling and receiving the love of your own heart. And that because we've all been there. Most of, we know what it feels like when you're so much in that space, that what it feels, it's like it's pouring out of you like this love, and you're just feeling this vitality. So it's just a matter of being intentional every day to connect to that space. And it's so important, because if we don't do that, then we go through the day, we get easily affected by others. People are saying stuff and we're just trying to not take it personally, and we go into the patterns. But if you connect to your space first and to your truth first, it's so important to start off the day like that. And then as you go through the day, so by the way, in the first part, I would even make a list of what are those things, Barira, right? What are those things that you really love? That is really lights you up, that is so amazing for you. So maybe it's meditation, maybe it's dancing, maybe it's journaling. What are those things for you that light you up? And you go into the experiencing that, giving that to yourself. And that's how you fill your cup, because we can only serve at the level that we're at, right? We can only serve based on the level of consciousness and where we are. And it's a matter of overflowing. So it's about getting to that place. And it's also a matter of being honest with, this morning sucks for me. I'm in grief. I'm in anguish, and then it's a matter of being present, allowing yourself to feel those feelings, crying them out, screaming them out. That actually allows you to not, those get stuck if you don't give them a space to flow. And that actually is a way to really powerfully enter the space of your heart. And then that's the first thing, right? The second thing that happens through the day is, you kind of walk through the day like a prayer or like a presence, you're connecting with others, but you're staying in yourself. So it's kind of a way of, I'm feeling and I'm being with myself. And then from that space, I'm receiving, and then I'm speaking. And you're just letting that flow happen from the flow of your heart. So it might look like something like this. So you're paying attention to yourself. Oh, okay. Oh, here comes my pattern of perfectionism. Oh, yeah, I can feel this stress energy and I'm trying to be a perfectionist right now. Well, is that true to me? No, that's not true to me. So your awareness is noticing an old pattern or some negative thought coming in. Oh, there's that voice telling me that I'm not enough. Oh, there's that voice right now where I'm making myself inferior. Oh, here I am creating that story that person doesn't like me. Is this truth or is it story? So there's a way of receiving yourself with what's happening with love, not judgment. Like, oh, why am I doing this again? Look at me. Like, that's judgment. That's the mind. And then as you are aware, then there's a way of choosing. Well, I'm not going to do that. What feels true to me? I'm going to do that. So there's a, and a lot of times what I would really invite everyone to do in this, life, as you go through life, is to breathe. Because a lot of times we hold our breath and we're rushing because the mind is always going really fast. So it's just like you breathe, you slow down, the slowing down and the breathing. So usually even when I'm at the hospital, there's so much stuff going on, people having crises, so I'm always breathing, coming back into me, slowing down. That gets me out of the stress survival pathway into the parasympathetic. And then from that place, okay, what's true? What's true and what's story? What's true and what's pattern? And there is a way of being in that presence, in that awareness, but really feeling, not denying your feeling. And that's how you go through the day, because, we can never just be in our heart. I mean, if we're always in our heart, that's just not human. I mean, it's not possible. So I call it more like every moment is a return to your heart. Every single situation, you get in your fight. I got in a fight with my husband. Okay, I'm mad. Oh, okay, right now I'm getting triggered. Okay, now I can sit here and point fingers, which is my old pattern, or I can just return to my heart and, okay, what's coming up for me? What's in me that I need to pay attention to, right? So it's not like you are always in your heart and you never come out and then you judge yourself for it. It's more like every moment is a invitation back to that space without judgment. And then if you judge yourself, okay, I judge myself. I'm human. Who doesn't judge? I mean, seriously, everyone judges. So then you just kind of like, oh, here I am judging. I'm not going to do that because that's not honest for me. You feel like, well, that's not honest. So then, well, what's honest? What is it that's really true for me?
Mm-hmm.
I can be compassionate. That's more true to me. That's who I really am. That's my true self, not the automatic pattern, not the thought, not the habit. It's, compassion. I'm going to have compassion for myself right now. So that's just, it's kind of like what you do in the morning to anchor, and then how you go through the day as a kind of a daily prayer. And then, if it doesn't happen that day, because you're just like in whatever energy, you forgive yourself. You say, okay, whatever, I'm not perfect. Who cares? The mind is like so judgy, like, why did you, who cares? I would just have this, like, tell the mind, who cares? It's always going to make things bigger than they are. So I like to do that a lot. Okay, thanks, mind. I'm going to let it go.
Thank you. I think every moment is a gift, allowing me to look back my patterns, and then, who cares?
Exactly. Who cares? And even like laughing, like the mind wants to make things serious and big and story horrible. And your heart is like, oh, come on. It's just, you're making a big deal out of it. You just laugh. You don't even laugh at yourself. Like I'll like laugh at myself. Oh, here I am doing that again. Yep. Creating stories, not true. All right. And then you just shake it off and you reconnect. Well, what's true? That's it.
Barira, thank you for joining us, and I hope you got your answer. Bianca, if we have anyone else who wants to join, we still have time, so there is a chance. Sorry, sorry to rush you like this. And I want to ask a slightly, I'll be the devil's advocate, but what if what creates anxiety in you is something which you kind of feel that, as a responsible adult, you sometimes have to compromise what's important to you for the sake of whatever the story your mind is telling you. How do you reconcile what you feel you have to do because of whatever story? Maybe you have a mortgage to pay, children to take care of, to raise. We all get this kind of situations where we have to put our heart, or we feel that we have to put our heart aside.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's a blend. I'm not saying, like if I were to like just say only do what I feel, then okay, well, what about the patients? Like I'm on call, I have to go take care of patients. If I'm just going to wake up and say, I just don't feel like going to work right now because I'm just not feeling it. I don't feel like being on call today because I just want to be with myself and I don't want to pick up the kids from school. Like, so I feel like there's a balance, there's like a balance of, okay, this is life. These are my responsibilities. And I'm owning my responsibilities. I signed up to have children. I signed up for my job. I'm responsible for this. And therefore I'm in integrity with my responsibility. So I feel like there's a way of looking at life where this is what I signed up for. This is my responsibility. So I'm in integrity with that. That's actually part of heart, is being honest with yourself. Like, I'm in integrity. I'm owning this. I created this, and to me, that's like, sometimes I don't feel like it. Like I'm want to be my own energy. And now the kids are having a breakdown and I'm like, I just want to go and meditate. And no, she's having a breakdown. And now this is my invitation, and I'm a mom, and I'm going to sit here and be with her because I have chosen to be a mom, and I can choose right now to run away and to just not make this important, or I can sit here and be with her. And because this is what actually really matters to me. So I feel like there's a balance, in life. I think, Christina, what happens most of the time is like most people are so geared into the should. It's like I should. And then like the self becomes like, if I get to, when I get to, and probably I don't get to, at the end of the day. So I feel like there's an integration and a balancing of what we need to do in a part of our being responsible adults, and also giving ourselves that space to be in our own rhythm, because a lot of times we're just trying to fit ourselves in the rhythm of society, which is part of life, but it's also, and creating that space to be in your own rhythm. What's my rhythm? What do I feel like doing? So I think it's like a balance is the way that I see it.
Yeah, thank you for that. We have Milena joining us. Hi.
Hi, Milena.
Hi from Santiago, Chile. I am Colombian.
Wonderful.
And here in Santiago, Chile, 21 years ago. And my question is, how to discover your purpose and how to make it your job and part of your integral life? Because I passed through something like you. I studied industrial engineering, MBA, and was divided, taking care of the kids, the job, living outside from the center of the city. So I had to travel a lot from the job to the house. And, all my life was running and running and running and running. And I felt divided. So I had to stop like you did. But the difference is that I've been stuck for the last 8 years. And my finances are really bad. And I have to take action into a new way. So I think that I have to find my purpose and to align it and unify it with the rest of my life. How can I do that?
Oh my gosh, what a great question. I feel that whenever we don't take that space to be with our hearts, it is so easy to get wrapped up in the serving of whatever the matrix wants you to do. And so many people have all these gifts inside themselves, all these things that they love and they get excited about, which is related to the purpose, and they're never discovered. And many people just, pass away in life and never really tapped into that. So the way that, I wish there was like here's the one thing you can do, and then tomorrow you have your purpose, and then the next day you manifest it. It's a process and it's a journey. And I would look at it, I would even invite you to look at this whole the whole experience of like, what is my purpose, to kind of invite it into your heart and to make it a game and to make it fun and make it exciting. Like, I'm going to go on a journey. I'm going to go on an adventure. I have no idea what it is. I don't really know, but I'm excited to figure this out. I'm excited to feel what it is. Like, make it a fun, a game adventure. So the mind always wants to make it, what is it? So then I know, so then I can get out of my thing and then I can get on with my life. The mind wants to make it serious and, I gotta, that energy. So the heart is basically saying, no, just have fun with it, and you can do, and what I invite you to do is what I did, because my purpose totally shifted. What I was doing before, just giving only medication and doing only procedures, just didn't fulfill my soul. I was like, okay, that's not the healing that I'm interested in, serving people, right? I'm just like, this is, so then it was, what I invite you to do is create that space to be with yourself, not from a place of pressure or expectation, but from a place of openness and connection, and to start experiencing what naturally is a thing that pulls you, that you're curious about, that is interesting and fascinating. Now, sometimes those things that are hard, sometimes there's like little safety things that our mind protects us. Like, so there's like fear sometimes associated with that because it's the edge. But, really get into that, get into like go, whatever you like to do that makes you really happy. So dancing, nature, meditation, whatever. And then from that place, connect with yourself and just say, God, what is it that what your purpose is always aligning with whatever makes you come alive, whatever naturally makes you super excited, like really excited, like, you are sparkling with energy. If you look at people who are living aligned and on purpose, this is what's really happening. Their lights are lit up, their soul is alive. You got to activate that fire inside you, that fire that's there. We all have it, but the mind is like putting walls around it. So then you just got to get out there and light up that fire. And from whatever that thing is that lights you up, that gets you like excited, like, what is it that makes me want to wake up? What would I do if I had billions of dollars? And what would I do if I have no money? Like right now, what I'm doing, sitting here with you guys, if I had all the money in the world, this is what I would be doing. I would use my money to send this message out to the world. And if I had no money, I had to start over, I would start right here in this place. So just ask yourself, what is it that makes me come alive? What is it that if I had all the money in the world, I could do anything, what would it be? And then, go into the journey of, it's not going to happen overnight, but it's a journey. It's a process of discovering. It's a process of discovering yourself. I see so many kids, and same thing with me. They go from school. What is a career that you want to do? What's a career? What's a career? Getting people lined up and all these jobs and blah, 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 and it's like, they don't even know who they are. Like nobody even has a chance to figure out like, hey, what do I love? What is my life all about? So it's so important to discover. It may be an opportunity like I did, where let me discover myself. Let me discover life. Wow, there's so much there that my mind didn't let me focus on, because the mind wants you to go like this, right? So then when you discover yourself, now you're like, oh, wow, there's all these things in life. There are so many possibilities. And then from there, you tune into, what is it, that thing that lights me up? What makes my fire come alive? And you surrender to the journey and to this kind of the unknown, like a child would, like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. It's a surprise. You have that energy. And then you see where it takes you, because the heart is going to guide you, but the mind may not understand it. And the mind's going to try to make it understanding, but the heart's just going to guide you. I look at my life now and I say, I have no idea how all of this stuff happened. But if just step by step, you keep letting that fire and that passion guide you, just make space. Even if it's like you make space 15 minutes a day, you just keep opening up your passion, your fire, and you let that guide you. It will take you places where, and then you'll say, oh, okay, I did that. Oh, that didn't really work out. Okay, fine. Let's not do that anymore. Oh, this works, okay, works. This was a green light. So you're going to know when the green light universe gives you a green light, because doors are opening. When the doors are shutting, it's basically, oh, okay, that's not for me. I need something's there that I need to come back into myself and redirect. So it's just like, yeah, like kind of like child energy, kind of childlike energy, curiosity, adventure. The children, learning how to bike, you fall, you get up, you don't get hard on yourself. Yeah, it's that kind of energy and opening up to the adventure. And that's how it works. And you have no idea what it's going to be, but I'm excited for you, because I can tell that you are opening to something, and I can feel your heart is ready to receive,
Yes.
for you to expand in the fullness of your life and no longer wasted on the stress energy that's just wiping your energy away. I can feel that for you. So I'm excited for you. What happens?
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Milena, for sorry?
I just finished saying, trust your heart.
Okay.
Thank you, Milena, for joining us. And
Thank you so much.
yes, and thank you, Madalina, for your wonderful answer. Unfortunately, the time is very, very advanced.
Where did it go?
I know I have to keep my brain on for a while, as in to check the time. And I know we only talked about the preventative medicine here. We never talked about the actual healing if people are lost far away from their heart. And I was also wondering if a heart Q can be measured like IQ. And there were so many questions that were left unasked. So because of that, I'll ask the most important question. If somebody wants to work with you further deeper, and maybe somebody needs the healing to happen, what are the ways to go deeper down this path, the heart Q method and your teachings? And by the way, before you answer, I want to thank you for your message. I think it's a very wonderful and important message for our contemporary society. So yeah, keep going. but now I mean, what do the people need to do if they want to go deeper?
So, the HeartQ method, it's really easy, heartq.com, and everything is there. And basically we have this incredible program called Unleash Your Heart. And it's a live cohort program, and it really goes through what I talked about. The first part is awareness, so there's a process of awareness, and we hold people through being aware, expanding the awareness of like, what are those things that, somehow got created that I've been operating from, that's been suppressing, actually working against me, and I've been moving away and misaligning with. So you bring awareness, loving awareness. Second part is, what does that reconnection look like? Because it's not something you can systematically, Einstein, you can't solve the problem with the same consciousness that created it, right? So you can't get it from, you got yourself here, you can't get out in the same way. So what does it mean now to be in the space of your heart? And that's where the healing is going to happen. That's where the connection happen. And then once now you're centering in your heart, and you know how to center in your heart and put your heart in the driver's seat, not the mind and the default, but your heart. Now, how do you use your heart to drive? It's like you're learning how to drive. It's like, you haven't used my heart. I haven't. So there's a process of learning, okay, heart is leading the way. What is a heart aligned action? What does that look like day to day, decisions to decisions? How do you not let the mind get in the way and put fear in your path and stop you? So that's our program. It's our signature program that we're super excited. And then of course we have one-on-one coaching that we offer. And I'm also creating a program called the Portals into the Heart, and we have meditations. And so it's a lot of things there for whoever's interested.
That's amazing. We are going to share the links, I believe, at least in the description to this video. And I don't want to say with a heavy heart, because I wonder if NLP actually also matters. But with regret, I have to start winding up this conversation. Traditionally, everyone who is online with us right now, leave a heart. Oh my God, this is so appropriate for this one, but it is our tradition. Leave a heart from a wonderful guest in the chat. And if you're watching it later in the recording, then leave a heart in the comments below. I believe we'll put the links also somewhere in the comments. Yes, I will. God, my conversation, my chat got stuck for a while, and I was like, where are the hearts? Now I can see they're coming. Thank God they're coming.
I can see them.
And by the way, if you guys want me to bring up more people to ask questions, then you can leave your questions early on and in bigger quantities. I usually always get all the questions at the very end of the conversation. And I always feel a little bit sorry that I didn't give a chance to more people to speak. But thank you guys for joining me. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining me, Madalina, and for sharing your heart with us. It was a wonderful conversation, wonderful message, as I said. And I have to say thank you to Bianca, who you didn't see this time, but thank you for keep having our backs. And bye.
Thank you so much, everyone.